this machine. It's an old Multico. I have a roll-up door there, which I can open to. Oh, there we go. For those that don't know, there's two Dave Atkinsons. That one's the imposter. In this corner is my pillar drill and drill bits, all that sort of thing. Back around here slowly. And I have a big roll-up cupboard in there for all power tools, that sort of thing. There's my chop saw, and then I have a just wait 1 second, so I'm able to move it. There we go. The storage cupboard. It's also a router. Well, there you go.
Your video's dropping out, Dave.
Did you turn on your booster?
Yeah, it's on, yeah. There's my hoover for the chop saw and the router. Can you still hear me?
No, it's come back now.
Okay, there's the hoover for the router and the chop saw. Back round. I have a little wood burner in my, there's my wood burner. A sharpening station, two Atkinson slow running grinder, and on the side of it, I have me hollowing tools, some chokes, and some big boy hollow tools at the back there. So let me move this table. Don't need that now. And I used the Hope hollowing system, which is hanging up there, and I used it through big TV screen, which is actually running as a TV now. I come out here when the wife wants something on and I don't want it on. I get chased out here.
You're breaking up a bit.
And that's,
Will you try your iPad, David? Because that's not working whatsoever.
His bandwidth is low, so maybe if he signed off on one of the devices and just used the other.
Now for maybe about 8 or 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
David, try just turning on your iPad and turn off your phone, please, because we're losing you. I don't think he can hear us, Paul, can he?
Not at the moment. Hang on. I'll unmute it. What's that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, turn off your phone, Dave.
Can you hear?
We can, yeah. That's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's probably best if you just disconnect your iPhone altogether. Just turn it off. So then it's not using
Very
it.
low. Hello?
Yeah, keep going.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Right. Well, I was showing you my lathe, Joss. It's an Atkinson 2448. I don't know whether you got that. And I moved on to show you my calipers. Bought these off Andrew Hall. Superb. Love them. Don't know if anybody's seen them before or not. I've got a couple of pictures I had hung up, but I'll lift them down now. That's the biggest thing I've turned on my lathe, which was MDF. That was a finished job, a table base. Last year, I turned 8 4-foot logs by 12 inches diameter. I had to turn them down to 10-inch diameter for, you know, the weightlifting logs that people use. That was interesting. As regards keeping this place clean, I brush it, I hoover it, and I have a big blower, which I'll show you. I roll down the door, make sure the neighbours are not out, and give everywhere a good blow. Can you still hear me?
Yes, it's coming through good.
Okay. Okay, well, I also have the Atkinson dust extractor up there over my lathe. I don't know if you can quite see. My iPad's fast, but it's there. Also, to combat some of the chippings and dust and that, I have a roll down shower curtain. So I hope that helps. Yeah. And last of all, for the dust, is I sometimes remember to put that on. Not all the time, as Pat will agree. Well, unfortunately, I've only got one workshop, and that's pretty much around it. So I'll show you the sort of work that I do. I don't call it work because I enjoy doing it, so it's not work.
I like your feature of the pull down blind, because I've got a chop saw in my garage that I use quite a lot, and it sprays dust all over the place, even though I've got it connected to my dust extractor. That's a brilliant idea to put behind the chop saw.
Yeah. Yeah, good idea. Right. I do a bit of teaching in here. Quite a few people come for lessons, mostly from our wood turning club. They're new to turning. They can't sharpen, they can't turn, they can't do anything. Some are deaf. Some have got 1 foot in the grave. One of them's blonde. I won't tell her who it is in case you're on tonight, Debbie. So I have to have a lot of patience. But this is what I like to teach them to make. I like to teach them to make this size chair. It's a Ray Jones design, and it's a smashing little project. The plans actually allow you to make 3 sizes. This one is for putting a plant pot on or something. A nice little project using up small bits of wood, and then you can move on to the bigger one, to which I have a large one and a small one on the go at the moment. To get all the legs and spindles to fit, I have a little trick, and I showed it to Helen the other night. She was quite impressed. Is a sharpened up spanner. I turn the spindle to nearly to the right size and turn the last bit with the spanner. You see the sharp bit there? And then that should fit the 1/2 inch hole every time. And have a 3/4 one for the legs. Any questions on that? No questions?
How do you go about getting your angles right on all your legs? Have you got a sort of jig that you use?
I have an angle finder on my pillar drill, and I just set the angle, pull the handle down, and job's done. It's a little bit more difficult on the bigger ones and the seat. Usually I get somebody to hold on to the wood especially for the back legs, which is at 20 degrees. If you imagine a Forstner bit's got a point in the middle, and once you get to 20 degrees, the centre bit isn't touching and it wants to snatch the seat about. I've got 2 seats here ready to go. For the 2 big chairs. I tend to make a lot of them now out of recycled kitchen worktop. This is oak. This is the offcuts of when they cut out for a sink or a hob. As I said before, my son's a joiner. He fits kitchens. So when he gets pieces of worktop left over, they come to me. People that come for lessons, they don't pay for any timber. All the timber's included with the lessons. I generally do 2 to 3 hour lessons because I think a lot of new people, they just can't take 8 hours worth in. It's just too much to tell them. One of the biggest problems is sharpening. They go home and they have a go, they come back and it's all ragged up, what we've done wrong. Let me see your chisels, and then I have to sharpen them, and then they go back away again. But what I do try to do when they make a chair is they don't make all the spindles with me. They maybe make 2 or 3 with me. Then I send them home with 3 or 4 more, a couple of spares to practice, and the same with the legs. I do 2 legs with me, 2 at home. Somebody once said to me, they went on a course for a day, and by the time dinner time came, they'd forgotten what they were told at 9 o'clock. So I took that on board, and I thought, well, I'll just do 2 and 3 hour lessons. It suits me. I'm retired, but it also gives them chance to go home and have a go at what they've been learning. Right, we'll move on to that. From that. I've still got the first 4 items that I learnt to turn when I first started. These are nearly 20 years old. That's my first bowl. So what I'll do is I'll go through. Sorry, that's my first bowl. There's my first box. Bit rough inside and what have you. There's my first holoform. That's holly, and my first goblet. I'll let you decide at the end of the day whether I've improved any or not. So I'll go through my bowls first. These were wet turned recently. I think the chestnut burr. I think that one's apple. Somebody brought it to me. That's a piece of sycamore that I've been practicing having a go at doing the emerging bowl. I'd like to do that for a club demo. And there's one I did many years ago, but I had a play at the bottom with a bit of pyro. I'm not very arty at all, so that was quite good for me actually. This one has 4 or 5 millimeter groove put in it, and all little bits of wood all glued together, and made a ring, and then the ring to fit in the groove. I did a big one of these, but my daughter has it. Here's one inspired by you know who. A tree at either end. Richard Kennedy. Thank you, Richard.
No problem, Dave.
Pardon? Pardon?
No problem.
7 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to New Zealand, and I contacted Terry Scott, and he showed me how to make these. He also did an article a few weeks after in the Woodturning magazine. these manta ray series. I did 3, sent him the pictures, and sorry to say, but basically he sort of told me off and said, this is my thing, you know, you need to move on and do your own thing. I said, okay, Terry, fair enough. So I moved on. Before I moved on, I did a couple of coloured ones. Yeah. So I moved on and I did 4 up and 4 down. I've only done 2 of those. I've forgotten the lad's name. I gave one away to a lad that used to have his own shop down in on the East Coast, over that way. I've forgotten his name now.
Darren Breeze.
Pardon?
Darren Breeze.
No, he lived near Nick Arnold, out that way.
Okay.
A youngish lad in his 30s, I think.
Yeah.
Dark hair, quite stocky. His name escapes me just at the moment. So I made that one out of Ovanga Coal. I made the other one out of Beach. The Beach one I took to the Forest of Dean wood turning club where Paul goes, and Terry Scott was on there. I actually showed it to him, and he criticised it and did his thing. They also expected it to be lighter than it looked, so I followed this one a bit thinner than that one. Then I thought, well, I'd have a go at doing the same thing, but in a bowl form. So that one is 4 up and 4 down as well. As far as I know, they're my claim to fame because it was my idea, and I don't know anybody else that's actually done these. 1 second. To do this one, I had to work out how could I get all those points. Basically, I drew an octagon, 8 sides, and I had to cut a half circle in each one, like that, to allow me to give me the points. So if anybody wishes to try one, that's the side view. There you go. It's like a circular saw going around with its teeth set. I wasn't happy with that. I wanted to take it a step further. So I tried 5 up and 5 down. As far as I know, that's the only one of those in the world. So it's my little claim to fame, I think, that. Pat hit on these the other night, some leaf bowls that I do. I do this one, club demonstrations, because it's a bit smaller and it fits on the VL 150. The bigger ones I have to do on the big lathe behind me. Like Pat said, I pyro the edges and I make the stem with the grain going that way, because everybody wants to pick them up like that. And if the grain was going that way, you don't need telling what will happen. Did this one either yesterday or the day before. It's a piece of Bubinga. I've had it for years. I've got another piece down there about 2 inches bigger, which I intend to turn maybe this week. I've not been able to turn for the last 2 days. I've been too busy cleaning in here, and once I got it clean, I didn't want to mess it up again for tonight. And you all know whose idea this is, or I think it's his idea, but occasionally copy other people's work. Pat will let you know that. Quite enjoyed doing that. It's a bit more Pat or Chris Parker with all the texturing. Not really my thing, but have a go. Right, so that's pretty much the bowls. We'll go to goblets next. My first goblet, I learned to turn this with all these with Jim Stockton, who's a club member of ours. And he took me under his wing a little bit, and it wasn't the best of turners, but he helped me out such a lot. So I'll show you what goblets I've done now. A good friend of mine that lives in Wigan, Joe Balmer, taught me how to make this. It's twisted with a different colour up the middle. I don't know if can you see the white up the middle? Well, I got some bits out here to show you. To make that, you need to get a cylinder of wood, drill a hole right up the middle, which is far more difficult than what you think, because such a long drill, it wants to follow the grain and go its own way. And then you have to turn, that's a 4mm hole, a piece of corian, which needs to be turned to 4mm to fit down there. I since came up with a better idea, well, not better, but different, was to put 4mm plastic knitting needles down them. Different colours. There's a red.
So have you got any tips or tricks to keep the drill bit on track?
Yes. Try and get a straight grain timber as you can, and do about 2mm at a time. Bring your drill out, clear your drill, back in, another 2mm, back out, back in, back out. There is a way of doing it, but I can't show you at the minute. But basically, just set your tool rest so it's bang on centre, and just poke it in a little tiny bit, back out, tap it, get rid of any swarf. Any swarf will make it wander about all over the place. I once did 10 and one of them worked, so of a box with about 10 in now, like something like that. Just put a label on with the variety of wood that's on it that I'm using there. That's rosewood. So just try and get a good straight grained timber, and make sure your drill bit is extremely sharp. As you can imagine, look, you know, I'll hold that still, but look how much it can move. And the grain will do that. And my second goblet, I haven't got many goblets, so oh, take it there, sorry. It's already here. I'd like to say this is my design, but because I've never seen one done before, but I've seen similar since. Now, whether it's come through me or because I've demonstrated this at a few clubs, is I know people have done them, you know, different than that, but this one actually spirals. I don't know whether you can see. That's a piece of yew. I did that one the other day for tonight. Not easy to do, not for the faint-hearted, but I swear on my kids, I've never ever seen that done anywhere else. So I'd like to think it's another little claim to fame for me. Right, what are we on now? We're on boxes. Just a few boxes that I've made. This is boxwood. I've got some boxwood in my workshop, in my woodshed there, 6 inches diameter. Thank you, Paul Starr, for giving it to me. Pat's got a bit as well, I think, haven't you, Pat?
I have indeed.
It's beautiful stuff, beautiful to turn. You also may have saw that on the internet the other day of just playing about with a bit of burr on the top. People keep saying it looks like an apple, probably because of the handle that I've done for it. And then the last one, there are bits of black filler in that because of a few cracks in it, but I quite like it. You may have seen this one that I posted the other day, a piece of elm. I copied that one, but not quite copied it because the bottom broke off one of the corners, so the bottom isn't square. The pewter inlay, I engraved it to make it look like a 5p piece. Took me ages to do because I had to get everyone exactly the same, and one in the top. I've done another one with 10p pieces, so 6 10p pieces in it, and I sold it for 70p. Didn't really, but that's Pat's idea. Thanks, Pat. And the ugly mug I showed before, the other Dave Atkinson set me a challenge. He said make a lidded spoon the other day, so I'd never done one before, so we had to go. Made me realise just how important it is to get that ball fully circular. Enjoyed it, and to me that's what it's all about. If we don't enjoy coming in here, how can you come in here with three coats on in winter and do some work? I'll do hollow foams last, but I was teaching an elderly gentleman who he started off Devonshire Bakery. He's since handed it over to his son. He came for some lessons. I think he was 76. And I walked past Devonshire Bakeries and I saw somebody in there having a cup of tea. I thought, well, that's over a little teapot. Identical to that. So I made one. I asked him, could he borrow me one so I could copy it? Well, since then, I've seen them in the shops and I bought this one. Anyway, I borrowed his, I made it, and I went over to Ireland last year demonstrating and stayed with a chap over there named Dave Gunn, and I left it with him. I came back and I went for a pint one night in a local restaurant, and they had a lovely little teapot. I said, that's nice, can I borrow it to copy? It's quite local, so the girl said yes, so I copied it and made that one. So lid off. I know it's a deep lid, but that's exactly as it was, all measurements. Pyroed it, give it a bit of something. I took it back, gave it to the girl, and she said, oh, we've got a nice coffee pot there, why don't you do that? So I ended up making an old coffee pot. They're not too, what's his name? Michael Gibson, yeah, they're not to his standard, I know that. There's another one made out of jarrah burr. I filled all the cracks in the jarrah with a bit of brass powder just to give it a bit of feature. And then recently, a friend had I don't know, it's a coffee pot, and I had a go at copying that and just blackened it and put some gold over the top of it. I found that very interesting to do. I know quite a few are using resin at the moment, but I haven't done any casting resin. Well, I did some years ago, just grooves in top of bowls, but nothing fancy. There's a little earring stand made out of perspex. And plenty of these. My friend Helen has got one. Whether she ever wears it or not, I don't know, but just had a play for a few nights. Right, go to hollow forms and such. The burr hollow form with a bit of colour on it. I was sanding it back to add more blue, a bit like the Phil Irons one. But when I sanded it back, I quite liked it as it was, so I didn't add any more blue. My wife's claimed that one. Here's an early one to go with. Was that bold? It's my attempt at doing flowers. Not very good, I must admit. But it's all about playing, isn't it? Nice bit of spalted silver birch, as Pat would say, with a telegraph pole on top, because he does them thinner than that. This one was inspired by Paul Jones, member of our club. It did a demo, and that's hollow with quirky lid on top. Am I going too fast?
No, it's fine.
No? Okay. There's a bowl on the stand, on a pedestal, bit of bare elm. I'd like to say it was ebony, but it's not. It's just beech sprayed black. Can't afford ebony, being a poor pensioner. And holoforms don't have to be big to be nice, because I quite like that one. Little PCU with the 3 branches around the top. Usually with holoforms, you can stick your finger in and feel like us turners do. I learned this little trick off Pat Carroll. Put a collar in there and do a smaller finial, and nobody can get a finger inside and have a feel around. I saw one like that. It might be Pat's, I'm not sure, but we had a pewter ring around the top. As I don't do pewter, I just did a black ring around the top. It's nice and light, that is. That's with Joe Sonia's paints on it and cling film just squidged about and then lacquered. This was quite an interesting one. I turned it fairly wet and thin and scalloped the edge around the inside, and it split. So rather than throwing a fire, I'd been to a club the night before and saw something like this, so I hadn't really. I stitched it up with some eyelets and a lace. And for my last 2 holoforms, this is quite a big one, spalted beech, sorry, spalted silver birch, with quite a big collar on the top. The top was all rotten and manky and breaking away, so I had to do a big collar, and I'd had that finial made for quite a while, so I made it fit that. And then the last holoform of the evening is a sycamore with a Bubinga collar and another spiral with a little candle in the middle of that one. When I was rooting about today for put some things on the table, I made this probably 15 years ago and I found it today. I thought it'd be something a bit different to show you. The whiskey's evaporated out of it, and it's got a little O-ring in there for a nice tight fit. First time I've laid eyes on it for 10, 12 years, something like that. And my last 2 bowls, that's quite a big one. That was piece of yew that I bought off John Dempsey. Not really keen on the shape. I wanted to get the outside of the shape, but I think I've made it too deep. I've recently made a shallow one, but I've no Danish oil or anything, so it's not oil, so I didn't put that one out tonight. And this is one of my favourites. My wife has claimed this, so I'll have to empty all the fruit out of it tonight to come out. That's the underside of it. Bit of burr elm, I think it is. Love turning that one. I've only ever been on one course for wood turning. I used to go for lessons with Ray Jones for spindle turning, but as regards anything else, I've only ever been on one course. And can anybody guess where I went to learn to do that? Hopefully I can call him a good friend now, but had a fantastic time with Andrew Hall. Quite happy with that. Senor. When I came home, it was only right that I tried one myself. This is a smaller size, and I'll try a little girly hat. That one. I've not done any more since. So. Right, for the last part of the evening, or last part for me, I also make these letter openers. They're a lovely gift, but there's a bit of work goes into them. I'd like to try and show you how I go about making them. That's okay. First of all, we'll go for the blade. The blade is 2 pieces of bamboo, and it's very, very strong. Really a job to bend that, a lot of pressure on that. And start off with bamboo, as the box gone. There we go. Piece of bamboo, which was probably about 3 or 4 inches diameter. The thing with bamboo is the hardwood is on the outside, which is the opposite to what we're used to, which is the softwood on the inside. First of all, I have to mark out and split it to the right width. And to do that, just let me lower my camera a little bit. 1 second. Let's see if I'm low enough. Just about, I think. Well, basically, I've marked out about 3/4 of an inch. Got a sharp blade. Little tap in and twist. And there you go, nice and straight. Then I have to, I only want the outside, it's too thick as it is, so I want the sapwood and the heartwood, softwood splitting, so I have to split it again. Down there like that. So let me do that. Wrong-handed. Doesn't split as easy that way, so now I've got just a hardwood. You see there? Then I have to get another one. Another one there somewhere. So then the next step is to plane that. I have a little jig here that that hooks under the bed of my lathe. Because I do this on the demonstration, you see, so that goes on there, and I have a little G-clamp, and I plane that end, turn it around, and plane that end to get rid of all the soft wood. When I've got two pieces, very thin, like that, I glue them together, the two flat surfaces. There's one that's been glued already, the blue Peter moment. Then I have to shape them. I have to do a tang at the top to go into the handle and a point at the bottom. And then sand them off. I call that paint on the outside. It's the colour of the bamboo, but when you actually sand it down, it becomes this lovely, nice grain on the other side. So sand both sides and then put an edge on, shape it on a belt sander. Okay, that's the blade done then. I then make a handle. You can just do any shape handle you like. That one's a piece of cherry. You can go a bit more ornate, adding different pieces to each other. There's one with some plywood and wenge. There's a bit of burr elm. Got a bit carried away at that end, I think. I don't want to say what that looks like, but there's the first one I made. Well, first one I showed before. It's got checker, so I just glue some wood up like that. Cut slices in a little square like that. Put them in. Have them at a set size, and you can just build them back up. You can do a twisted one. You can do anything. I have done one with what do they call it? With the cross in the middle. I forgot what it's called now. Oh, the Celtic knot. I have done that one as well. So when you've got the handle made, the blade goes into the handle like so, and then you need the spleen to go in there. And the way I was shown to make them, this originated from a chap that came and did a demo for us. He was in his 70s, and he wasn't doing anymore. So I said, do you mind if I take your demo over? He said, oh no, you're welcome. So he let me do it. So this was the way he made the spleens. He glued some pieces on to a square and then turned them like that. So very, very thin. He glued them on using children's PVA. And when they were turned to the shape that he wanted, they're not easy to do. Or I don't find them easy. The ebony breaks off and things like that. You can see on the end of that one. They'd soak them in warm water and they just peel off then. And I just then keep them in a little box. And I've done quite a few of them. Glue them on in a straight line, get them both the same length, and then it's down to your finish then. Lacquer them, varnish them, whatever you want, and then hopefully you should come out with a nice letter opener like that. And I think that about does me. Now up for questions. Anybody's got any questions? Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Great job, Dave.
Dave,
Pardon?
where's the bamboo from?
It was a great job.
That's the most expensive part. I had to go to Cambodia for that.
All right.
No, there's a company in this country that sells it. I bought a load off him once. I've since been in touch with him to try and get some more, and he promised it me, but with this coronavirus, it's come to a halt. But I did go to Cambodia last year, and I did bring some back with me.
Hello, Dave. It's Paul Starr. Can you hear me?
Hi, Paul.
You can sometimes get them large bamboos from carpet shops.
Can
You
you?
have them down the middle of the carpets.
Do you have to buy the carpet as well?
Not unless you don't want to.
All right, okay.
Nice show, Dave.
Thanks, Paul. Any more questions?
Hi, Dave. It's David Boswell. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay. Did you do all of that lot on the Vic mark behind you?
Pardon, I missed that.
Did you turn all those big pieces on the Vic mark that's behind you? I think it's the one we brought up at Birmingham.
The L 150? No, I do most of my turning on this, the Jet
Oh, right.
2442.
Right. I just wondered how you managed to do it all on that. Right. Okay. Cheers.
No. I have a big lathe here.
Okay.
That's my go-to lathe, my big one, because not only is a lot heavier and everything.
Yeah.
The view's better through the window.
Right. Okay. Cheers.
Okay. Any more? How do I say who's on? Let's have a look.
We've got
See
50
who's
so far.
watching.
You got 50. Hi, it's Ann Bowden from Canada.
Hello.
How are you?
All right. Now I was a bit nervous to start off with, but I've settled in.
Well, I thought it was brilliant, and I'm glad you did this because let me tell you, trapped after Corona, this has been really fun. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's on every weekend, so stay tuned to the AWGB site and you will see this regularly.
Dave.
All right. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Dave.
Any more questions?
Yeah, when you came,
Pardon?
when you came to our club, Dave, you did a square block that turned out into a three-cornered bowl.
Oh yeah, three-cornered bowl. Yeah.
You haven't got your a sample there because I thought it was bloody great.
Right. Well, the thing is, because I make so much stuff, you've seen how much stuff's here tonight, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I make things and I fill you can see behind me, those 65-litre boxes. When they're full, they go up there into the loft and they don't see light of day until I can get to a craft fair or something like that. I'm not really interested in selling. I'm more interested in coming here and enjoying myself. But I must have 20 of those big boxes full of things that I've made up in the loft. There'll be a few going this week because a young lady that I've been teaching is doing a VE day next Friday. Social distancing. I think they're having a bit of a party in the street. And I said I would donate some things for a raffle, so maybe get rid of a few that way. It's for St Luke's, which is a local hospice, which I suppose they're all struggling a bit at the moment. But I told my wife, if anything happens to me, all this lot is to go to St Luke's and let them sell it and see can they make £1 or £2. It won't be much more than that.
Thanks, Dave.
Any more questions on anything, the wonky goblet or the spiral or anything else? By the way, the spiral is done freehand. It's done with an Abra file, and it's just you set at one angle and you turn it by hand and try and keep it equal all the way down. Takes a bit of doing, but once you've started, it seems to find its own size. Really, you go down one side, and then when you come back to do the other side, you've just got to keep in between where you were for the first side. So your first spiral is probably that far apart, so you've just got to keep in the centre of that. Then there's lots of fiddling about, sanding and what have you. The same with the Terry Scott manta ray bowls. You get so far, then you've got to cut the wings off, then you've got to sand them back in to blend them in and what have you. A lot of sanding. Not everybody's cup of tea, but Terry makes a fantastic job of them, I know that. Any more? Got 5 more minutes before you go to that posh workshop. Or workshops, there's 3 of them actually.
You just
I've got a question if that's all right.
Pardon?
Go on, you go. I'm just interested. You said he changed your bandsaw out earlier this year.
Yeah.
What was the motivation for that? Because I mean, Atkinson makes
well,
saws as well, but it's
the reason was I always wanted a Bassato. I find they're a lot more solid than the Axminster one I had, and this one came up at the right price. So I swapped it. I felt the Axminster was a bit tinny. Am I a bit tin here? I'm very pleased with this one. I feel safer with it. I don't know why. I can't explain why, but it feels so much better.
And was the deck chair accessory extra, or was that included with it?
No, that's on a Monday night. I have two pensioners come round. I'm saying I'm a pensioner now, but they're early mid-70s, and they've been coming for about 8 or 10 years now. David and Fred. David doesn't do any turn. He's not so good on his legs and that. So the chair is for him. But last night we had a bit of a run through for this to see if the cameras and that would work. And I got told off for walking about off Helen. She said, haven't you got a chair? And remember, David's chair was there, so it's still there. I said to her, I've got 3 chairs here, but I can't fit in them. No, I come in here to work. Oh, well, sorry, not to work, but to make things. They want to sit down. I've got a lovely settee in the house and go and sit in there with my first wife. First wife for 45 years.
I've got a little question, if that's all right, about the beautiful. I'm Katie Beth. I'm from Newcastle. The beautiful finials that you had before, the sort of very ornate looking. They almost had a Celtic look to them.
That on top of there.
Oh, that wasn't the one I was talking about. That is beautiful.
I know, the other one.
Stewart's.
You mean these two?
They're the ones. They are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, well, I had a spell of having a go at spiral work. I soon got bored with it. It's too much fiddling about for me.
It looks it.
All your Helen Bailey stuff, and people either like doing piercing, and somebody that likes spending hours doing something. I get a bit bored, so I haven't done so many of those.
They're gorgeous. Excuse my ignorance. I'm fairly new to the wood turning world. How were they made?
Well, you just turn the outside shape.
Yeah.
Draw the spirals on. You sort of divide it up into sections, and the same that way. And then you just draw the lines to each corner of they're like boxes that you've drawn round. The lines going that way, lines that way, and then you just cut out in between. Bit of fiddling, like most spirals, even on stair spirals. They all take a bit of fiddling, a lot of sanding, and it's a bit boring, I find, really. But
they're really beautiful, though.
Katie,
I made those maybe 5 to 8 years ago. I've still got them now. So what's the point of me spending hours and hours making more just to go up there? I don't know whether you can see up there or not. Just above me there, I have sliding doors, and that allows me to get into the loft of my workshop. When I built it, I put extra thickness timbers for the ceiling, so that I could store stuff up there.
Right.
I have my chainsaws and things like that up there out of sight, and just out of the way basically. But every time I fill a box goes up there now, and I say I must have 20 of those boxes full. And when I say the bowls, inside bowls, as tight as I can get them. Well, there you go. That's me. Most people will wrap them in bubble wrap, and some people have got a gallery in their workshop, haven't they, Pat, where they can put stuff. But
display area,
gallery. He goes mad when I call this my studio. I won't tell you what name he calls me. If I call it my workshop, he's okay. But if I call it my studio, which I do just to wind him up, he gives me a lot of grief. Well, that's an hour. If there's no more questions, do you want to go over to Helen, or I can answer some more questions if you've got any?
Great.
I was
Thank you very much,
going to
Dave.
say, just John here from Suffolk, just a very quick one to say thank you very much. I thought the items you make are very varied and they're obviously looking at good quality, so thanks for that.
That's okay, thank you. I enjoy making them, that's the main thing. To be quite honest, I was a little bit nervous about tonight, because I've never done this sort of thing before. I've done club demonstrations and I've been to other clubs, but this is a bit of a newbie for me tonight, so I was a little bit worried, but I feel like now it's gone okay. Thank you for good comments.